Do you know what works really good on Instagram? A negative hook. So today we're gonna create an animation that will be along those lines. But before we begin, my name is Bart, I'm a video editor, and if you just came across this channel, I would recommend to subscribe, because I'm dropping tips every single day, so feel free to do so. And if you want to cut your editing time, then check out the link in the description. I got a store where you will find plenty of video editing assets. So with that said, we're gonna get straight into After Effects. So we got our favorite talking head. I haven't really posted a reel in forever, so I think I need to record something to replace that footage. But what I'm thinking is creating some sort of a Stripe notification saying that you're broke. So I think it's gonna represent a perfect negative hook. So what do we begin with? Probably we're gonna grab our rounded rectangle tool. We're gonna create a shape. I'm gonna recenter it, put it right below my chin. We're gonna decrease the stroke width to like 1.5. And then we're gonna change the roundness, so the corners look more like a notification. I feel like we could unchain size, and we're gonna fix the Y value over here. For the fill color, I'm gonna change it to solid, and we're gonna pick something reddish, maybe dark red. And as for the stroke color, I'm gonna head over here, and we're gonna change it to red. Right now, I'm gonna right click, go to pre-compose, and we're gonna call it notification. And we're gonna create the text. Okay, let's change the color to white. Hit OK, change the font size, and recenter it. We could actually use a different font, maybe Gabriola. Yeah, it looks kind of cool. I'm gonna take my logo, we're gonna drop it somewhere there. Okay, something like that should do. We could actually change the color of this so it's matching the scene. I'm gonna change map white to also kind of reddish. And then I'm gonna type in $0. I feel like for this logo, we could actually decrease the opacity so it's not taking all the attention, like that. And you know what, as I'm looking at the notifications, the corners are a bit more rounded, at least on the iPhone. Okay, now I'm gonna create the movement for our notification. Let me just rename it. And I'm gonna hit P, create a keyframe for position, go back, lower it down, and we're just gonna easy ease the keyframes, go to the graph editor, and I'm gonna create a peak on the left. Okay, perfect. Now let's duplicate that layer. I'm gonna go to modes, and we're gonna select all these 3 layers, and we're gonna change the track matte to notification 2. Now what we could do, so we don't have to worry about that, we could click the shy icon and click the switch. Now as for the $0, I'm gonna hit S, create a keyframe for scale, go back, and we're gonna change it to 0. Okay, we need to adjust the timing, and we'll probably add the same graph as before, so that's how it's looking. As for that text, I'm gonna create a keyframe for position, and I'm gonna slide it in from the right. Now we're gonna increase the distance, and we're gonna add the same graph. Okay, adjust the timing. It's a bit too intense, so we're gonna do it like that. And now as for that layer, so not the one we were using for the track matte, I'm gonna right click it, go to layer styles, and pick inner shadow. I can't really see shit, to be honest, but we can actually hit Ctrl Y, and we're gonna create a new solid that is a little bit brighter. I'm gonna put it underneath. You don't need to create it, I'm just doing it for better visibility here. Let's go to the inner shadow right now, and we're gonna actually change the distance to 0 and bump up the size. I feel like we could play around with the color a little bit, so it's more interesting. Let's just see what could work good here. Maybe something like that. Okay, but then I would head over to our notification again and change the stroke color to something like white maybe. Barely noticeable, so we need to bump up the stroke width. Okay, a bit better. We could probably create a new solid. I'm just gonna change it to black. I'm gonna call it grid, or maybe blind. Hit enter, and we're gonna add the effect called Venetian blind. Now I'm gonna bump up the transition completion, just like that. We're gonna head over to modes, and we're gonna change the track matte to notification 2, and that way it's gonna only remain within that frame. Actually, you know what we could do is get rid of the lines on top of our stroke over here. So for this, I'm gonna duplicate notification, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna turn off the solid color, and I'm gonna put the notification 3 on top. And here as well, we need to go to fill and change it to none, and that way we're all good. Nothing is really overlapping here. So now we can play around with our blinds. So what we're gonna do is change the width, and then we're gonna change the direction to 90. Okay, pretty cool. Okay, kind of happy with this animation. Let's see it on the main video. We need to turn off our solid. Okay, kind of like it. We could actually put it a little bit lower. And what I would like to do from here is tear it apart. So we're basically gonna create a mask. So I'm gonna grab the pen tool, and I'm gonna do something like that. And then we're just gonna create a mask for the left part of our notification. I probably went overboard with this, so I can hit M, select the mask, hit Ctrl+T, and move it a bit to the right. Now what we need to do is duplicate that layer, and we need to go to mask, and we're gonna hit inverted. And that way everything looks good apart from that line over here. So what we need to do is double click the M, and we just need to decrease the expansion a little bit. And now what we're gonna do is select both layers, and I'm gonna hit Alt-Shift-P to create a keyframe for position. And before we create the movement, I'm also gonna hold Shift, click R for both of them, create a keyframe for rotation. And now if we move forward and drag it somewhere here, and then slightly rotate it, it should look awesome. Wait up. I mean, definitely not without any graphs, but we're gonna fix it. So how I'm gonna do it is select all the keyframes, and I'm gonna easy ease them. And then we're gonna head over to the graph editor, select these keyframes, so all of them, then drag the yellow dot to the left, and it's looking already pretty cool. Alt Pro, I just squeeze that peak more towards the left, like that. And by the way, if we go back, we could actually go to our inner shadow. So I'm gonna go to layer styles, inner shadow, and I'm gonna delete it. And that way we're gonna have that white stroke around our notification. As I'm looking at this, I feel like we could actually decrease the size. So we're gonna go to stroke width and probably change it to like 0.8. Just as I'm looking at this, I feel like I would like to make it more intense in the beginning. So we're gonna select all of them, go to the graph editor, and we're just gonna squeeze that peak more towards the left. So it's just gonna happen very abruptly. Yeah, like that. Pretty cool. So the whole idea with this is to light it up whenever it's breaking apart. And on top of that, I would like to have there a very sharp zoom in effect. You know what? I feel like we could actually pre-compose these layers, call it notification again. And then I'm gonna cut it here by hitting Ctrl-Shift-D. And then to this, I would like to add deep glow. So it's kind of lighting up when it's breaking apart. Okay, let's see. But we also need to add curves, increase the shadows, and we're gonna definitely decrease the exposure. Like that, and then the radius is too much. I'm gonna go to input, and maybe playing around with the threshold could be a good idea. Let's see. Not bad actually. It's kind of a unique look. It's not really what I was going for, but it's looking pretty cool. We can go back into that layer, and then we can fix some keyframes. So I'm just gonna make it a little bit more sharp. I'm just thinking maybe if we turned it into red right at the split would be a better idea. So for example, here we could add tint. Then on top, we're gonna create a new adjustment layer. I'm gonna trim it to 1 frame, and we're gonna add Gaussian blur. Now I'm gonna change it to horizontal only, and we're gonna bump up the blurriness. So somewhere here, it should be perfect. Or maybe the vertical one would be better. Yeah. And then what we're gonna do is use my pack. So I'm gonna head over to Motion Essence, go to Shake, pick Full HD. Since the comp is 1080 by 1920, I'm just gonna double click vertical, copy, and paste to the main. I'm gonna hit U to see the keyframes. And basically what it's gonna do is gonna give you a very nice zoom in effect, and then we're gonna have a nice shallow shake. But the thing is that it doesn't really match the situation. So what we need to do is select these keyframes, and I'm gonna just squeeze them in for rapid movement. Okay, looks pretty good. I feel like adding a little bit of flash here would be a good idea. So for this, I'm gonna use Pro Edit Pack, but you can find any flash you want. It's just a pack where you got everything in one place. So I'm gonna pick Flash 7, and then we're gonna head over to modes, change the mode to screen. Let's put it on top. Okay, pretty cool. Then when we got this flash, the transition over here doesn't really make sense. All right, now it's a bit better. And also something I would like to do here is cut the main video. So I'm gonna hit Ctrl-Shift-D, and we're gonna add exposure. We're gonna drop it down. I think I went overboard, like -1 should be fine. I feel like I'm missing something here, but I got an idea. So what we're gonna do is use a plugin, but first I'm gonna grab the ellipse tool and create a little circle. I'm gonna change the fill color to solid. We're gonna leave it at red, and then I'm gonna add optical glow. I'm gonna drop it below the layer. I'm gonna trim it. And now we're gonna play around with some settings. By the way, it's from Red Giant. So now I'm gonna bump up the amount and definitely the size. Okay. Then on top of that, we're gonna create a new adjustment layer, and here I would like to have exposure. I'm gonna go to the stopwatch, alt click this, and change the expression to wiggle, and maybe 25, 0.1. Okay, so it's gonna give us that little blinking effect. And one thing I would add to our notification in the second part is tint effect. We're gonna head over to map white 2, and we're gonna change it to red. Okay. Looks pretty cool. I'm really missing 3D here, but I kind of wanted to create a 2D animation. Maybe real quick we should create a little bit of 3D. So I'm gonna right click, go to new, camera, guess which one? Let's go with 80. Hit OK, OK again, create a new null object, parent the camera to the null, rename to cam control 1, and we're gonna drop it underneath everything. Actually right below the notification. We could trim it to this position, change the color, and we're gonna turn on the 3D on our cam control, our notification over here, and then I'm gonna grab the animation from Motion Essence. I'm gonna go to Polaroid, go to FHD, grab basic, or maybe instead of basic, we're gonna grab the one with the transition. I'm gonna drop it on the timeline, go into this, go here, and then we need to change the placeholder. So I'm gonna head over here, and I need money. I need money. All right, so I found a PNG on the internet, and then we're just gonna replace the text with this. Okay, pretty cool. We could just scale it up a little bit. I'm gonna go back, go here. And that's how it's looking. So I feel like we could actually add tint to this, and we're gonna change the color to red. I'm gonna go to our Venom transition. And I'm gonna make it very rapid. Okay, it's gonna be perfect. We're gonna turn it into 3D, hit P on the keyboard, move it away, put it somewhere here, slightly play around with orientation, do it on the opposite side. Okay, we need to go back, and I need to make it faster. And since we're creating a 3D movement, I'm gonna go to our vertical shake, and I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna remove everything. The shake is still there, we just don't have that zoom in effect. Then I'm gonna trim it to this position. I'm gonna go to our cam control, hit P, create a keyframe for position, and we're just gonna move backwards. Now I'm gonna easy use the keyframes, go to the graph editor, and we're gonna create a pig on the left. Okay, maybe even sharper. So we got literally a slingshot. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I wanted to create an extremely simple animation. I thought it would take me no time, and I have no idea how we ended up here. But you gotta drop a like for this. And you know what? On top of our shake, I'm gonna go to camera, transform, alt-click point of interest, type in wiggle, 2.3,5. Too little. Let's do it like that. 2.78. Okay, I'm just gonna extend that keyframe a little bit so the movement goes on. Maybe as for the Polaroids, I'm gonna scale them up a little bit. And as I'm looking at this, I feel like that Venom transition isn't really necessary here, so we're just gonna get rid of that. I just kind of wanted to create a little bit of depth there. And then we can grab the notification, hit Ctrl D, then hit P, move it closer to the camera, put it, I don't know, somewhere here. Then we're just gonna rotate the Z a little bit, put it here, then duplicate it one more time, put the other part on the bottom. Pretty cool, but the thing is that we got the movement in that layer. So what we need to do is just grab these two and move them somewhere here. I'm gonna trim the beginning, and now they're not gonna be moving. Let me just play around with position a little bit. And maybe let's change the Z a little bit. I could probably separately adjust it, mask out a different part, or in general just throw in a different asset, but I'm gonna leave it like that. Holy shit, it looks really good. And then we're gonna spread it back one more time. I'm gonna go to animated backgrounds, then jitter, HD, and I'm gonna grab not this one, but that one. I'm gonna drop it here, gonna go to modes, change it to screen, and it's gonna be a cool overlay. But I kind of want to have this overlay from the very beginning here. It's way too intense, so what we're gonna do is hit T, decrease the opacity, and then we're also gonna create another adjustment layer. I'm gonna add vignette to this. And now the beautiful thing is adding motion blur. So we have to do hard labor right now and go into each layer and turn it on. So I'm gonna go into notification. Here we got the movement, so we need to turn it on. We need to go into the notification again, and here as well, we got some movement, so we're just gonna do it like that. We could unhide our layers and turn it on for the notification as well, just in case. And then we're gonna turn it on for everything that has a cube. Okay, let's see. Ooh. I could probably duplicate that Gaussian blur. I'm just gonna rename it. Hit Ctrl D, put it here, and then change it to horizontal. Probably a bit better. But what if we added posterized time on top? So I'm gonna trim it here, add posterized time, and change it to 19. Honestly, pretty cool. The motion blur is kind of delayed by 2 frames. So what we could do is put it on top of everything. I meant the Gaussian blur, that layer. Alright, that's a sick animation, to be honest. I had no idea that we were gonna end up here, but I think we came up with something pretty cool. So that'll be it. Hopefully it was insightful. I think it was. And I will see you tomorrow. Cheers, guys. Jesus, what a long episode.